Small Town Minds.
Hey, welcome to Small Town Minds, the podcast from three small town guys. And the podcast is basically about anything, everything, and nothing. Right?
Yeah, that sums it up.
All right. Episode 3, guys. What's going on?
Um, Not much this week.
No news.
I'm
I'm actually surprised you're both still here because I thought both of you would have gotten caught up in the Rapture and be gone. But I guess you didn't make the cut.
so,
Uh,
so
sorry.
what was that? Because on Reddit and scrolling through YouTube, I seen like glimpses about it. Were there people that thought the rapture was coming?
Yeah, apparently
Yeah,
somebody on TikTok got a sign or something, God told them something, you know how it is. And they're like, yeah, it's tomorrow, or maybe the next day. And so, I don't know, you know how people lose their shit. It's been a while since we had a great fun Doomsday calendar day, and I've missed those, so I'm glad they're back. They're fun. They're fun.
Yeah.
This one only took like a 1% of the population, I think. So we didn't make the cut. I'm sorry. Maybe next time. There's always going to be more raptures, though, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Yeah. You know how it is. I mean, from the Mayan calendar, Y2K, all this, there's always been these dates that people go, oh my God, it's going to be chaotic. And I don't know if people actually sold their possessions and stuff and quit their jobs. I don't know if that's real. If it is, that's hilarious.
Very much so. Like I said, I've seen a little bit about it, but I didn't know. Like, that one escaped me. That is hilarious. So one thing I wanted to kick off this week, a little bit lighter before we get into the CNN talking head portion of the pod. I wanted to keep things a little lighter, a little more general. I think in between episode 2 and this one, Matt, you ran a marathon. I know you kind of briefly touched on it in the first episode. Like, what kind of got you into wanting to do that?
Drinking. I was really drunk at the time. I threw myself I threw myself a 40th birthday party. I was probably about a fifth of alcohol in. I think I was drinking tequila that night. And my friend asked me to start running with him. I was very agreeable. So I was like, yeah, dude, I'll start running with you. And now I'm 5 years in. I'm still running. I really enjoy it.
Nice. Yeah, that's something, admittedly, I would like to get into, but I guess just
Motivation, time,
excuses. Yeah.
yeah, those work. Yeah, I've had a lot of those lately. This has been so. I ran a marathon last November. Now, granted, it took me 5 hours and 45 minutes to run, but I ran 26.2 miles in 5 hours and 45 minutes.
Better than I could do.
It was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. So I mean, you've really got to push. We trained hard for it that last year also. But I think the longest run that I did by myself was a 15.5 mile run. Just trying to get used to pushing myself to those limits.
So when you say, you trained hard, I mean, what did that look like? I mean, was it the training? Was it diet? Was it all of a sudden we turned into a health podcast here? But
well, if you saw me, you'd realize that I don't diet. I'm back up to 235 pounds at the moment. But when I ran the marathon, I was around 220. But it really was just getting out there and running. I tried to run at least 4 days a week.
Okay.
At that point in time, I think by the time I ran the marathon, I was running probably 4 to 20 miles each time that I would run. Yeah. And now this year I've been struggling to run a mile at a time. So I mean, uh, it goes away just as quick as you can get it. So
Right.
it's all about the consistency. But it gives me a lot of time to think. Now, granted, that first mile or two, I guess you're thinking more about, am I breathing? Like, oh man, my leg hurts. And then you're really trying to talk yourself out of doing it the entire time. And then you'll finally hit a threshold, after you finally warm up and just go. And it feels really good. And when you're pushing yourself, anytime that even a 10K is a pretty difficult distance. That's 6.2 miles. Anytime you're trying to press yourself to go further, you learn more about what you're capable of.
Where did you run this at? Was it Nashville or?
Bowling Green, Kentucky is where I ran the marathon at. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's where I do most of my runs at, unless we do a destination run. I've actually done. I've done what they call the Spartan trifecta. Now, granted, I didn't do it over one weekend like some people do, but 2 years ago I ran what they call a sprint, which is a 5K with, I think there's 12 or 14 obstacles, and those can get pretty interesting. And then we did the 10K. I think we did that here in Nashville. Or I guess more Cookville than anything. Is where that was handled. And then we did the half marathon in North Carolina, and that was really fun. In November, I was wading up a creek bed. I had this strong feeling of Grandma's going to whip me when I get home. Because it's wintertime, and I'm wading in the creek. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've had a few nights. Yeah, we've had a few nights where we will go out here in Scottsville, where I live at. We have a really nice area, but it's pretty much hill. You're either running up it or running down it. And there's been a few times we've went out with headlamps in the middle of the night here, me in my 40s, and ran that park in the dark with headlamps on. That's a lot of fun. It felt like being a little kid again. Now, granted, if I had fell, it probably wouldn't be funny because I'd probably still be laying around.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I wanted to start out at least a little bit lighter. And when we were kind of texting about potential topics, I thought, man, I want to dive a little bit more into that. It's pretty. Not everybody can say they've ran a 10K, 26.2 miles, and some of that stuff. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I would love to run with you. We'll have to get together and go for a run, Braden, even if it is a short run somewhere.
For sure. So, what? Another interesting little thing, because I know that's a hot market right now, is running shoes. You have Brooks, you've got Hoka, Asics, On. So, which ones would you recommend?
I've really enjoyed the Hoka, and that's what I've been wearing for the last 5 years. I made the mistake the first few times that I bought any, and I typically buy my shoes to where they fit tight. And I was having a lot of issues with what I would consider to be, I've always called them shin splints, like when your shin just burns so bad. And they taught me that I want to get just a little larger so my feet have room to move. And that's been a big help. But I really like the Hokas. They hold up well.
Interesting. I just wanted, like I said, wanted to touch a little bit on that. Good stuff. And we'll definitely have to get together. Not just for a run, but just in general, for sure. Maybe one of these days we could do a pod, all of us in person. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
Let's do a pod while running.
Running.
I've actually thought about doing that. I've got an idea for that one. Don't steal that one from him, Michael.
No, I'll hand it off to you, Mike. To be honest, I can't even remember what all we said we were going to talk about. So
All right.
I know we've got plenty.
Well, let's start off with the wonderful effects of Tylenol.
My goodness. My goodness.
Grandioso
I see
effects of
the
Tylenol.
I see the monopone.
I see the morph Power Rangers.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Tylenol.
What do you think about the Tylenol situation? See, it comes to this thing where it's like, well, once one party says something, the other one obviously has to demonize it. But when somebody says something very outlandish, it's hard to go, well, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, Tylenol is not the factor of autism, since autism was diagnosed in 1911. Tylenol wasn't invented in 1955. Obviously, could there be some components that maybe assist in it in the process of that development? Who knows? But to demonize that product itself, specifically that brand, right? It's pretty well. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I thought it was very odd to say it the way he did too. It may not have necessarily been about the Tylenol part, but I do recall also as he was talking, he was asked a question and basically about what evidence there was for the claims that he made. And I wish I'd wrote it down verbatim, but basically what he stated was he thinks that and that was it. It was more like this is his belief that this is what it is. It's how he portrayed it. I
have faith that Tylenol is bad.
Yeah. I was like, man, it's hard to think that this is something that's going out to the world. A feeling.
Well, it's scary because immediately his camp is automatically going to never take Tylenol again until he gives the okay permission to, and then everybody else. Then you guys, of course, the far right is going to take overdose, right? That's the far left, and so go overdose, and in the middle, people go, "What is happening right now? I have no idea."
Yeah. Well, there is a such thing as too much too. You don't want to take too much.
Sure. Well, sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, guys? Just distraction.
I think it's some of that. The thing that kind of struck me was during that press conference, during his ramblings, and I can't even remember how it came about, but he was talking about Ozempic and he called it the fat drug, and was touching on basically obesity and said, but it's nothing compared to autism. So first off, autistic people aren't monsters. No. So that's kind of what that painted them out to be. It's like, if you're autistic, you're, and we do have an obesity issue in this country. That was one of the things, RFK, I thought, okay, he initially said stuff about stem cell therapy. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can get on board with that. Taking bad things out of our food. Sure. I'm on board with that. Yeah. And then we start getting into the anti-vax stuff and raw milk. And it's like, okay. You could have stopped because you had some decent ideas. But no, we do have an obesity issue in this country. And Ozempic has its place. Started out as a diabetic treatment, and then people figured out you could lose weight with it. But no, I do think it's a distraction. I do think it's just more rubbish. Like I told you guys earlier in the week, we're in a fucking reality show. Like, that's what it feels like.
It does feel like a lot.
I never liked the reality shows. So,
No.
I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. What do you guys think about that wonderful statue that came in very quickly?
I'll let you go, Matt.
Are you talking about the handshake statue?
Yeah, the friendship statue.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That's wild that it popped up all of a sudden. And I actually had read 2 stories about statues this week, so for some reason my brain was not sure which one we were on there. No, that's. I have no words actually. It's funny. Don't get me wrong. It's funny, but also why? Um,
I don't know where it's I'll take a small bath.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just more of what people actually want, and just don't let that die, because there is. I think I said this very directly on the last episode. Or may have been the first, but there's a genuine concern that the two-time president was directly linked to the largest pedophile ring ever. And that, I don't know. And all the cover-ups, there's been more people supposedly came out. Apparently Musk is on the list, Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel.
I saw that. That one did mention Trump, so I thought, well, this is definitely some sort of list promo.
But I don't know. I don't think the whole entire list will ever see the light of day. I don't know why. There's so much to it. But as far as just the statue, it was hilarious.
It was a good troll, right?
Yeah.
Especially for a president who takes his part. Angry. Most presidents who just, they might not liked it, but they wouldn't ever say anything about it. He sure demanded it was immediately. It was gone, even though he had a permit for longer. Like the rest of the weekend, they were taking it super quick. But people take pictures of it. So let's talk a little bit about Kimmel. I mean, it's already came and gone now. It was a big story not too long after last podcast, but we had this big story with Jimmy Kimmel getting fired and then getting rehired and stuff. But, thoughts on that one, Braden?
Well, I mean, it like you said, it's already came and gone, but I think as of now, so he came back Tuesday, and it was like 60 or 70% of the distributors, I guess you would say, Nexstar, and there's another one that's escaping me right now, weren't broadcasting it. So even though he was back, it was not fully back. So
right, in Nashville, you couldn't see it. If you were watching on ABC, you could see it.
I watched the monologue the next morning on YouTube, and the last time I checked, the YouTube clip alone had 21 million views. I got a kick out of the part where Trump they played the clip of Trump saying, well, he's got terrible ratings or he gets no ratings, and Kimmel pops back up and says, well, I do tonight. I thought that was chef's kiss.
I love the monologue. And I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. I haven't.
Same.
I'm not a regular watcher at all, but I watched that. I've actually watched the first 2 or 3 as he's been back. But that monologue I thought was really well done. Anybody that was afraid that he was going to be sort of censoring himself, he totally showed that he was not going to be. So I thought it was well done. I thought he handled it with grace there. It was really good. What do you think, Matt? Did you see it?
Yeah, I actually watched it also, and like you, I've never been someone who watches Kimmel, so I watched it to see what he would say as he came back, and I really liked it. I thought it was a good, strong comeback. Had a lot of great points, good humor about it too. Definitely scary to think about the fact that it didn't air everywhere. This is what's considered a national program. So it's wild to think that those things can be censored that way. Now, granted, I know everyone had it available the next day on the internet, but still crazy that may not.
I don't know who's still watching 3 channels anyway, but those people weren't able. They might not even have internet, so I don't know. But the fact is, yeah, you're right that they're actually, and I think that's just a way to say, well, okay, you're back, but still, we're going to do this. We're still going to get you. We're going to stick it to you a little bit. Kind of the deal, sort of a thing. But they had to eat crow, obviously, because so many people are canceling their subscriptions. Now, I'm going to go back to the freedom of speech stuff in a minute, but did you hear now that Disney's raising the prices too now as a strategy, which is okay. Hit them where it hurts, right? You're gone, come back for more, pay more. But of course now this whole thing, the freedom of speech thing, that's the thing that really bothers me. We talk to the people. We have a friend talk who's like an avid gun lover, owner, who really worried about that right of the Second Amendment. I'm really worried about that First Amendment. To me, freedom of speech is very important to me. As an artist, especially, I think it's really something that you have to try to make sure is actually being implemented. And we did talk a little bit about Kimmel on me and talking saying, well, freedom of speech, sometimes there's consequences. I said, no, that's actually the whole thing about freedom of speech. There should not be any consequences. And the thing about this now with the right, and between the right and the left, is the hypocrisy. The old band Pearl Jam had an album, Vitology, had a song on there. What was it called? It was This Is Not For You. And one of the lines says, if you hate something, don't you do it too. Okay? And this is exactly the hypocrisy that the right is doing. And it's going to trip them up, I guarantee you. Because the one thing that you had against the quote-unquote woke left, the extremists, is the cancel culture, right? The cancel culture shit that they were doing, which I was not a fan of either. Do I believe that Roseanne should have gotten fired for a comment? I do not believe that she should have gotten fired for a comment. And, and that Gina Carrero and Melissa Barrera for Scream and all that. All those people that got fired for their comments, I don't feel like that was just either. And now when they go and do the same thing, you can't scream cancel culture to the opposite team when you're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? When you're literally, and I think, and that's a lot. It's been a lot of the right now. They're doing the same shit that they really demonize the left for. And I think that's going to hurt them in the long run. Which, whatever. But yeah, the freedom of speech thing is super important. I feel like you can't do that, especially now that Trump is trying to say, let's try to get anybody that disagrees with me or says something bad about me pulled, and off the air. I mean, these are terrible, terrible statements. And the president should not be making them, So for me, like, it's really important. And I want to get on the soapbox for just a second and talk about my little minuscule thing, which is this film right here called Cellar Secret. Okay? Cellar Secret. This is my movie. And I make movies sometimes, used to anyway. And this has been on Tubi. It's been on Tubi for over 3 years. Okay? And lo and behold, here about a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, I noticed that he wasn't on there anymore. Now, you might say, well, low ratings because it's an independent movie. Well, that makes sense. Okay, sure. But I looked and checked, and actually, last month it was one of the highest rated months that it got on there, other than like the first year it was on there. The first few months. So I don't think that was it. You might say, well, licensing agreement. I'm licensing this. I mean, there is a middleman, but I'm licensing this myself. So I didn't say, hey, pull my movie. Okay. So the only other alternative, and this is just hearsay, really, but the only alternative, somebody complained about this movie and got it pulled down. Got it pulled off off Tubi. And to me, like, that's just, first of all, it's terrible that one moderator would do that. But, when you have something like this where yes, this movie is not for everyone. You guys have seen this movie?
Yes.
It's not for everyone. It is. There's definitely some groups that would watch this movie and be very angered by it, maybe. Right? Not definitely wouldn't like it. Wouldn't be on their radar necessarily. But if they did come across it, because all walks of life are horror fans. So if you come across this, you go, "Oh, this pissed me off." Okay, that's fine. And that's okay. But do you have the right to pull this because you didn't like it? What do you think?
You don't like it, don't watch it.
Well, right. But if you do watch it, it still then, I don't like everything I watch, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You brought so you brought up Roseanne and everything, and I agree. I don't think she should have been fired, but I think where we're at as a society, at least on the left, is I'm trying to think of how to put this. You just shouldn't say dumb racist shit. And I get that. However, you should have the freedom to do that. Now, in regards to your film, there's probably a lot on the right that wouldn't like it. There's probably, and it is hypocrisy because, the right's doing the same stuff now, except instead of people saying dumb racist shit, it's hitting a little too close to home.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same but different.
But it is, but freedom of speech itself is not.
Yep.
It's not a gray area. It has to be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It has to be either or. Either you have it or you don't.
Yep. No, I agree, and it's a slippery slope. Either way you go. Because if you start saying, well, you can't say this, where does it stop? At the same time, going back to, Kimmel and just the whole topic here, I think the same week that Kimmel got pulled on Fox News, Brian Kilmeade, paraphrasing, but essentially said, round up all the homeless and give them lethal injections.
Right.
And then earlier this week, Jesse Waters, on a show called The Five that airs, I'm pretty positive, at 5 p.m. Central, said we should bomb the UN and pull out of the UN and gas the building in New York. Okay. They should have the freedom to do that. But
that's eliciting violence. And there is maybe, if you're trying to say something like that, that is maybe the caveat, okay? If you're trying to get somebody hurt, but what happened to that guy? Nothing.
Yeah. No, it's you're right. You should have the freedom to say whatever you want, but it's in situations like that, no, because to a lot of people it's a dog whistle. So
Right. But if you're saying something and it really literally is harming or like trying to cause some sort of riot or danger or something about someone, you should be able to say that. What do you think, Matt? You got any ideas on this one?
Yeah, the freedom of speech, I don't think, was ever meant to allow you to incite violence. I would definitely agree with that. but no, we we should have the ability to say the things that we want to say, without the consequence. If it's for art, if it's for making sure someone has the truth, the news. I think the news is definitely something that they shouldn't be able to censor. Our comedians, who are in some senses a way for us to understand our own culture. Sometimes it's easier to see our culture through that comedic lens. I think that's a good place to not allow it to be censored. I'm pro freedom of speech.
Yeah,
I do worry about the anger that it can incite, but I really can't say anything else on that one. Everything else would kind of contradict that from this point.
Matt, I mean, so we're just so many centuries away from it now. But I mean, you look at the old days of Lenny Bruce and George Carlin, and those people that went to jail for saying the things that they wanted to say. I mean, these people were champions for just literally freedom of speech, and there's obviously such things and stuff like that, and there's things like that, maybe as a culture you should be like, not do, but again, to lose your livelihood because of something we say, I mean, that's pretty rough. But let's talk about George Carlin for a minute, because George Carlin's, I miss that fucker. He was actually my favorite comedian. He was my absolute favorite comedian. I mean, honestly, most of the stuff he said, I give up. I mean, he really was a thinker. He was definitely not in a group. He definitely could make fun of everybody. I remember one time he said, why is it that all these people that are against abortions are the people you want to fuck in the first place? Stuff like that. And I got another quote for you. He said, political correctness is America's newest form of intolerance, and it is especially pernicious because it becomes disguised as tolerance. It presents itself as fairness, yet attempts to restrict and control people's language and restrict codes with rigid rules. So, he could really dish it out to both sides, and I love that about it. So,
Still rings true today.
Yeah, I've got that DVD collection of his, of all the HBO stand-ups that he did, and they're just great. I mean, he spoke the truth, man. So I miss that sort of comedy stuff, but I'm afraid that you couldn't do that much anymore. Which is kind of sad. With everybody saying, "Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that part of it." Don't say that. So it definitely is scary. Scary.
So what do you think about, on the topic of comedy and kind of bouncing around here, the big comedy festival in Saudi Arabia?
That's wild, man. I'm like, why would you do that? So they say it's like kind of just a smoke screen, right? To make them seem like they're, look at us, we're hip and cool. And when you think of Saudi Arabia, I've never thought, oh, that seems like a cool place to go to a comedy show. It's weird. I don't know. Obviously, some people want to do it, so I guess more power to them. But it's a little weird. What do you think, Matt?
It's the first time, and that's the first time hearing about it.
Okay.
So they're putting together, or already have put together, a huge comedy show for Saudi Arabia.
There's a lineup. It's already together. There's a lineup of comedians that are going to go. I know Pete Davidson's going to be there. There's quite a few.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah. I don't know. It's wild. I'm sure it's political. It's probably just something that they're doing. But if I was a comedian, personally, I wouldn't do it.
They have an infinite supply of money. A topic we talked about last week, WWE, they do shows over there, I think 2 a year. I'm not a fan of that. I think it's blood money. But they're getting paid, I think, $50 million before they ever sell a ticket over there. And it's just like, how do you say no? For one, so they're making $100 million a year off 2 shows. So I'm sure the same thing applies here.
You have to be careful with that, though, because if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong about this, so don't quote me, but I think it was Saudi Arabia that Darren Lynn Bousman, who's the director, he directed Saw 2 and Saw 3. He directed a horror movie over there, and I think pretty much they sort of kept the rights to it. Like they did something really shady with it. Like, I don't know if he didn't get final cut or they did. Yeah, it was like something really weird. Like they were supposed to have done like this sort of very legitimate deal with him, and it just ended up not being.
Well,
and they did the same thing. They sort of threw money at him, and then, once he's back home, they're like, yeah, we'll do what the fuck we want. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the money obviously sounds good, but I don't know. That's a risk. It's a risk. All right, so you said you had something about the presidency. Anything about the last three presidents?
Yeah. So there's this idea that Donald Trump is this genius, that he's this astute businessman. Yeah. That he's waves his hand and everything's magically better.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit last week about the job numbers. Not looking great for this year. But I wanted to go back because everything's Obama's fault.
Well, that is.
And just job numbers. I tried to look at a few different key indicators for some things. Obama added 11.3 million during his 2 terms. During the first 3 years of Trump's term, so not counting COVID, because, hey, that wasn't his fault.
You say?
He added 6.7. And I even kind of dug into some numbers because Biden added 16.9 million during his 4 years. However, in the interest of fairness, that is a bit skewed. I think about 8 or 9 million of those were jobs lost to COVID. So it averages out to about 5.5 to 6 million he added, so not too bad. GDP, which is gross domestic product, basically a leading indicator of how the economy is. For both Trump and Biden, it was around 2.3%. I think year to date this year it's 3.3, which was kind of surprising because it sure doesn't feel like it. And kind of where I'm going with all this, and we can talk a little bit more about a couple things here, but I'll kind of yield the floor to you guys. My point with this is that he isn't a stable genius. He isn't some all-knowing wizard. And if you really take the time to look at a lot of these numbers, it kind of tells the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at a couple of key legislative achievements by some of these presidents. Obviously, we had the Affordable Care Act from Obama, which a lot of people still utilize today. Admittedly, probably a piss poor rollout, because I remember when it was rolled out, the website didn't work. It was a mess.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it was great for a lot of people. It wasn't good for me personally, because what it did is it gave certain job employers the opportunity to say, well, because we were getting absolutely, completely free insurance at the time, and they took that opportunity to say, well, we're going to change things up and doing things differently now. And now your insurance, instead of being free, is going to be, what was it, over $300, $400 a month. Yeah. So it definitely changed for me. But overall, for a lot of people who could not get it, obviously, yes, very good. Very good deal. And we should have never had a system to begin with where people who only work part-time couldn't get it. That was a shitty system. For people to exploit, like Walmart, who would work you 32 hours or whatever it was until you couldn't reach the the threshold.
A couple other quick things. Then I'll yield the floor for Trump. A couple of his big legislative achievements during the first term. Obviously, tax cuts. Mixed reviews there. We can talk about that. The USMCA, or United States Mexico Canada Agreement. I feel like we've heard about that recently, and whoever signed that was a fucking idiot. Then for Biden, something that I'm sure he probably doesn't get the credit, or him and his administration, the CHIPS Act. So when we talk about those $5.5–6 million or 6 million jobs and investment into the country, that's one of the key things. Inflation Reduction Act. So again, my point is
expansion on like internet too, like fiber and everything into a lot of places. That came here. We didn't have it before that, so that was another good thing.
And I kind of want to segue into one thing you kind of touched on. As I mentioned, I wanted to do this. My point is, Trump is a con man. He is a grifter.
He's a god.
And kind of tells the followers what they want to hear. Tells them where to put the blame.
Yeah.
And by no means am I glazing Biden and Obama. They weren't perfect. The Afghanistan exit was not well executed, even though Trump was the one that initiated that. But the execution was not perfect. Obama fucking deported like 12 million people. Bombed countries with drones. They're not all fucking perfect, but it's just this idea that Trump is just the best thing ever. It's not so much I have a problem with him. It's the cult. I'm just like,
yeah. I have a whole thing on cults. I have like 3 things we could segue into right now. We can go to that cult. This branches off in 3 different things.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do this one first. Somebody asked me the other day. I said, "Who do you think in your lifetime is the worst president that you've ever seen?" And without hesitation, I had to say Trump. And then they were, okay, well, which one is the best one? And I said, I don't know. I don't really think there was any. Really. Can't think of any. I was too young to really remember all that much about Reagan. Clinton, I mean, those times were my teenage years, so, I mean, it seems nicer to me. But then again, but we also have the North American Free Trade Agreement, which he signed. He didn't implement it, though. It was implemented before him, but he did sign the motherfuckers. That was not good. That was not good for our country at all, especially in this area. At all. That's where the factories went to Mexico, and yeah. So that wasn't great. We got Bush. I mean, Jesus Christ, where do we start with that? And then both Bushes really, but and then Obama. Yeah, like you said, you mentioned all those things. So I mean, now what do you think, Matt? What's yours? What's your best worst president?
In our lifetime?
Yeah, in your lifetime.
Yeah, it is very hard to fathom. I mean, a lot of the things that I thought were good about the presidents at the points and times, I'm learning a lot of the things that they enacted, either they themselves didn't start or they kind of set the next person up with the same kind of pitfall that was always going to be something that landed during the next president's term. So it's really hard to even quantify how to relate to that one. I do not like the how Trump just says everything. Like, okay, dude, like sometimes you have to keep those thoughts inside your head. Not everybody needs to know every thought you ever have. I think
it
before
goes back again to like decorum, it's like, yes, we like freedom of speech. We want you to be able to say anything, but you're also the president. You have this sort of power and authority and this sort of influence over the whole entire country. So maybe not spewing it would be the best.
Yeah, exactly. I remember at a point in time, I was always very heavy into the Clinton administration, but and that may have also stemmed from the fact that when I was a young kid, I got to see Al Gore when I went to the 4-H Congress. So I don't have an answer either. I'd say the best president, I guess Morgan Freeman. I forgot which movie it was.
Right. You, Braden, you got one? You got best or worst?
I mean, worst, yeah. Certainly Trump for a variety of reasons. Again, I don't really know. If you look back at just the sheer numbers, Clinton had shit pretty on point. So the NAFTA thing, like, to play devil's advocate, she was cheap during the 90s and early 2000s.
Cheaper, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why is that? I would argue in large part due to NAFTA. That's the whole thing. In the first episode, we touched on tariffs, which still makes none of it makes any fucking sense. He tweeted out some more tariffs on fucking trucks and cabinets this week. But it's cheaper. You want to buy a t-shirt for $20. It's cheaper to send it to Mexico, pay somebody 50 cents or whatever. The t-shirt costs $5 in total to make. You can make a $15 profit. If you have that same t-shirt made in America, you're probably going to have to charge, $45, $50. A lot of these American-made companies now, for just a basic t-shirt, typically $30, $40, $50, but they're premium. They're premium t-shirts, best fitting t-shirts you ever had in your life. But and they boast about being made in the USA. So, yeah, certainly. But to your point, Mike, when he signed that, a lot of jobs left those small town communities and crippled them. So it was a sacrifice for the sake of capitalism. I'm not saying it was right or wrong. I would lean more in the wrong direction. But sadly, that's just kind of the world we live in. Again, because all the rules, regulations, and stuff in America now due to OSHA and other companies. So I kind of rambled off from Clinton there and got off on that, but
I mean, it was odd though too, because that was the same time that you did get a lot of illegal immigrants that came over. So not, and when I'm talking about for a specific area where we're from, you're talking about factories closing, so all those jobs lost, and then you also had the illegal immigrants come over, and then all those like tobacco jobs and those jobs that nobody really, really wanted, but still were jobs. All those were taken out. So that really did, like you said, cripple the economy in those small towns. And you look at the town we're from, that thing has never recovered from anything. Not that it was bustling then. It wasn't bustling then, but it certainly isn't now. Not for the foreseeable future. right?
Yeah, and that was in the area that we lived in. I think there were 6 sewing factories that like up and left, and they were gone. I was actually working at one of those at the time.
I did at one point, yeah.
Yeah. I worked at one of them when it shut down and moved, and then I was also one of those folks who still worked in tobacco. That was the kids' Christmas when they were young.
Right. Yeah. No, the thing about Trump that makes him definitely, I think, the worst is because it's not just like, it's not that the fact that he's been demonized so much on the left. Because at first, once the first term, I kind of thought, yeah, they all hate him, but it's like, I don't know, it didn't seem as bad to me. But this second term, this is like up the ante on everything. He's really doubling down on it all, going for revenge. It's the pettiness. It's the sort of like intelligible bravado. It's all these things that he's doing. The incite, we talk about inciting violence and stuff, freedom of speech. I mean, saying stuff like that he hates his enemies and he doesn't want them to do well. He doesn't forgive them and stuff. That sort of stuff is. I mean, he literally said he could care less about bringing the country together. I mean, if you have such a divisive country as it is, and you have got a president saying, I don't care, I'm not trying to bring them together, I don't want them to be together. Like, how does that shape your world? Especially people that are super influential and these people that follow along with him. These are the people that anything he says, they're going to go along with, and then on the extreme other side, they're totally going to go against. But when you say that, you're just creating more and more. You're reinforcing your enemies and making that sort of tension between the two just more palpable. But that's the thing about the mega crowd is we'll go into it now. Cults. Anybody like them? When you think of cults, what's the biggest one that comes to mind when you think of cults?
The thing immediately pops in my head because it freaked me the hell out as a kid was Applewhite and the Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate, the Hellbop, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that one pops in my mind immediately.
What about you, Matt?
Oh, that's definitely one that's in my mind too. I always, I'm a huge Kool-Aid fan, so I guess I go to Jim Jones a lot.
Jim Jones, the People's Temple, that's a big one. That was a big one. Yeah.
I mean,
I was going for Christianity, but
I was going to say it depends on what you classify as a cult, because in a sense, yes.
Okay, so here's what we have. We have an estimated 10,000 cults active in the U.S. That's just an estimated thing.
It's nice and healthy.
Absolutely. We have if you can't join one, there's plenty more. Okay,
there's another one.
Don't worry, somebody's going to accept you. Don't worry, it will happen.
Finally joined a podcast. Maybe I'll start a cult too.
It's time. I've always said it's time. There's 4 different categories of cults. There's doomsday cults, political cults, religious cults, and sex cults. These are some characteristics of most cults. Authoritarian control. Sounds like something we might know or just talked about.
Yeah.
Extremist beliefs. Again, something we might have talked about recently. Isolating from society. Now, when you isolate yourself from society, and this goes back to it. It's like when you have, and this is from both sides, when you say, if you believe in this, delete me right now, unfriend me right now, don't talk to me anymore. Don't do this, don't do that. I don't want to hear what you have to say because I'm only for my people. I want to yes and myself into oblivion. When you do that, then you're not allowing for free thought and free speech and all that. But what you're doing is you are literally reinforcing your cult. And then the sort of, usually typically with cults, they have some sort of veneration of a single individual, some sort of godlike figure, right? Something they're looking up to. There's usually some sort of leader like that. And so this is something that we see time and time again. And my thing to you is, why do people fall for this? I get the sense of community. Some people need community. They want that shared experience. They have to have that sort of thing. But there is a point where you're involved with a group of people, and there's a turning point. Because, like, even you're talking about Jim Jones, Matt. They started out, and he was doing good things. It was charitable, right? He was doing some good stuff, right? At first. And then he started doing like these magic tricks, trying to get people to fall for his powers and all this stuff. And it just led down a road. It led down a dark, dark road. And of course, one of the things with a lot of those extreme cults is they take all your money and all your possessions and they isolate you from your family. And so you really don't have much of a choice. And it's really at least very hard for you to leave.
Yeah.
But these other cults, I go, well, if you're there at some point, why don't you just say, hey, this seems a little bit bonkers. I'm gonna hit that exit real quick and never come back. But a lot of people, they don't do it. They'll follow through it, because when you get involved, and this is the thing again with politics, is once you're on the right or on the left, extremely, if you're in there, you're in it. You're in it. So no matter what Trump says, they're like, yeah. If he, like you said the other day about a pink ball or a purple ball, if he says this ball is purple even though it's pink, his whole entire crew are going to go purple ball. You know what I mean? Which is pretty insane. It's like, how can you not? And it's not like these people are all dumb. Obviously there's some very intelligent people that are involved in these things. So it's really hard to understand. And I have a hard idea of even conforming to anything like that, any sort of group. I don't like group mentality. This was something George Carlin used to say too. He doesn't like groupthink. It's very, very, it's dangerous. And so, like, when you get involved in there, and they take everything you have, I mean, you are just at the whim and mercy of this probably typically one individual, And what does it go? It usually goes horrible. Something goes terrible. And there's been so many cults. In Tennessee, there's a lot of cults. Did you know that? There's a lot of cults. There's probably one around you don't even know it. I was living in Bellevue a few years ago, which is in Nashville, Bellevue, and it's right next to Brentwood. And I was there, and I had no idea that there was a cult in Brentwood. And it was like right down the road from me. It's called the Remnant Fellowship Church. Do you know anything about this one, Braden?
Never heard of it.
Oh, there's 2 documentaries about it on HBO. You have to watch them. They're amazing.
Very interesting.
Great stuff. But I was like, what the hell? This is like, I passed that church probably 100 times. I never thought anything about it. And here's the thing too. Now, that leader, she died. They died in a plane crash. But guess what? That church is still there today. Opens on Monday. I looked it up on Google. So if you're feeling kinky, if you're feeling froggy on Monday, you can go. Scientology obviously is a big one. That one, the big sex cult, the NXIVM, the one that had the girl from Smallville that was recruiting people. That one was pretty recently. There's also another one that, as far as I know, is still going too. It's called. Well, it's really weird. It's called a lot of things. This is another Tennessee one. I think it originated maybe in Franklin, in that area. It's called the Wayne Jolly Ministries. You ever heard of this one?
That one I have not.
Okay, so like I said, they go by different names. So they also call themselves the Gathering International, which sounds a little bit more formal. Anyway, so same old stuff. Recruited followers and made them like do his bidding, basically go by his instructions, take all their money. It was a physical abuse, sex abuse cult, blah blah blah. I say that because it's just so typical, right? It just like At what point, when you're in a cult and you say, well, you're going to have to leave your wife and give me your wife, and you're going to have to go with this person because this is what God wants you to do. At what point you go, what? Well, maybe I'm just going to go home and watch TV. I don't know. But anyway, so it wasn't Franklin. Got a lot of big publicity there back, I think, about 2015. The guy actually died, though. The main guy, he died in 2016. But they've since, I think, relocated in Dixon County, but probably other counties. It seems like they have chapels in Chattanooga, Ringgold, Georgia, also one in Sparta, not too far from me. So I'm going to go to that one for sure. But I guess his wife or partner or whatever is carrying on the congregation. So even when these spearhead people die, these things they don't go away. They still continue on. Maybe not as much fever as before, but they're still going on. So what do you guys think about these things? Cults in general, they fascinate me. I do have a fascination with them because to me, that level of sort of mind control is so bizarre to me. I don't like people telling me what to do at all. Like you know me, I'm just punk rock and that's just it. Like don't fucking do anything. So like to me, it's very wild that you get yourself in these sort of positions. And I know again, a lot of people they go thinking it's a good deed, think they're doing something good. That one in Brentwood started out kind of like it was a churchy, but it was also about losing weight for these women. Like, oh, I'm losing weight. She's all, and so it's like it starts out with all these little nuggets of good things that you think you want, and then it goes, and by the way, I need you to take all your money and well, fuck your wife. What do you think, Fred?
All I heard from all that was sex cult in Sparta. I mean, no. Oh, no, it is. I think, we talked about mental health on the first episode, and I think again on the second, so we'll make it 3 for 3. I think that plays a big part in it. It's just a mental health aspect because I think a lot of people are just searching for something. You kind of touched on it, a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a purpose. And they find this group of people that welcome them. And it's like, hey, your ideas are our ideas. We're all thinking the same way and we're going to change the world and that type of thing. And it's like, all right, yeah, this is what I was meant to do. And before they know it, like you said, they're having their wife go off to another room and they're doing deplorable things of their own and things like that. So I think that plays a big part in it. Just people's mental health. They kind of search for something.
Yeah, I know I've watched a lot of the documentaries about the different cults too, and it seems like I feel a lot of the folks who come out of it, they were all looking for a place where they felt loved, or for the ones who joined in, they were looking for a place where they felt loved. They just never felt like they had someone who actually cared about them, and something about the charisma of the leader or the people who were recruiting brought them in. And as Braden was talking, they at first it was like, oh yeah, this is everything, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, why don't you eat this food that you don't like to eat? And they're like, I can eat this food since everything else is good. And it just keeps getting to be a little more before you know it, you're lost in the cycle, and then you think you're stuck.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What is it? Okay, so obviously, like you said, needs for community, need for all this stuff. Why not go with one of the more tamer? Okay, so why not join Catholicism? Why not join Christianity? Why not join the Satanic Temple? Why not join one of these other sort of milder sort of communities where you can leave? They don't force you to sort of be in. What is it?
Join a run club.
Join a what?
I said join a run club.
A run club. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you'll spend money on shoes and
yeah. Well, that's yeah, exactly. But but whenever you go to these extremes, is it just because you want to feel special in a way. Like they make you sort of feel special. Like Charlie with his girls, like, they see me in a way that, say, a Pentecostal wouldn't see me. Is that what we're looking at? Just like sort of the sort of individualism that they're playing. But I mean, obviously some of these cults grow pretty big, So
Oh yeah.
obviously have a lot of one-on-one time when it gets to that point. So I don't know what it is, but there's obviously something. I mean, yeah, I think it is sort of a mental thing, but I mean, obviously, again, some of these people are super intelligent. So what makes a person say, you know what, this life it's everything I've done has led me to this, and I'm going to sell off all my positions because the rapture is tomorrow, and I'm going to just let it go.
Yeah. I mean, that's, Lord, I thought I had something that slipped out of my head just quickly. I was thinking about like Waco, and I've tried to think, if I put myself in the mindset, if I was going to buy weapons to protect myself from the government, what would I've thought? Because to me at that point in time it would have been like, oh shit, why am I going to have to protect myself? I'm sure there's a lot of moments that they really have to justify every time they think about what they're doing. But in a sense, I guess that's been all throughout history. Lots of crazy stuff have been done because people felt justified to do what they believed was right. Yeah, I lost train of thought. My bad, guys.
No, it makes sense.
I just tucked myself into a cult. Sorry.
One man cult.
No, it is fascinating. I mean, yeah, I think regular religions, people, they've been around so long, they're just there. I think people, like kind of what you guys are alluding to is, they see this shiny new object, the charisma of the leader, the message, whatever it is. It's like, hey, wait, I know that Christianity stuff. It's a bunch of gobbledygook, but now this Jim Jones guy, he knows what's happening. So maybe some of that too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of them still use like religion. They still use the Bible and God and stuff, but they just kind of have their own sort of twist on it, I guess. But like you said, it's the charisma thing that probably draws them all in. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a wild one. This isn't a deep dive subject, but just real quick, let's talk a little bit about popularity. Popularity. I was never a popular person in school. It wasn't my thing, for sure. Not something I really sought out to be, and and there was different reasons for it. Obviously, I was very poor. I was very quiet. I had different viewpoints than I think than most of the people in town did in certain ways. There's just things that kind of separate yourself from the pack. So popularity not really there, but not really against sought. But in today's culture, isn't everything just a popularity contest? Let me ask you this. If you look back at the 80s movies, 80s, 90s, what do you see mostly? You mostly see some awkward, loner, nerdy, weirdo, or just normal person getting bullied by popular people. That was like a staple in a lot of American culture in the movies. So we kind of looked at popularity as like sort of not a great thing. And I get it now. I get it. The writers were nerds, and that's why they did it. Writers of movies, they're getting their payback a little bit. But so it just seems like that was sort of the trajectory that we had until the internet. And the internet was made by nerdy people, let's face it, for the most part. And they kind of got their comeuppance, and their revenge in that aspect. Because let me look at Elon Musk and all these billionaires and stuff. They're all nerds, right? But at the same time, And then within that construct of what they created with social media and everything is about popularity.
Yeah.
The whole stage is set on popularity. Instagram, YouTube, this podcast, everything is set on popularity. And I say that like there's a lot of things that you can't do unless you're popular. A lot of people won't look at you unless you have a following. I remember back in the day, all these horror websites used to promote my stuff. They would promote things that I would send them, trailers and whatnot, And then once the popularity system came around, they didn't do that anymore. Because I think they would go, well, this guy's not really got the numbers. It's got a pull. You know what I mean? What do we think about popularity in that sort of aspect and how that's going to shape like mental health and everything? Because again, I still don't have that gene where I'm like, look at me. I want to be popular. That need to please everybody. I'm not a people pleaser. I think you know that, Matt. Definitely not. So that sort of idea of like likes and followers and all that. How important is that? Because to some people, that's like their bloodline. And when it comes to like people like influencers and stuff, or people who have ad revenue and stuff, you have to have it or you can't make anything. Where are we with that? Like, is it? What's it going to do to us? What do you think?
I hope I'm not talking out of my ass here, but I might be. If I remember correctly, there are social ratings. I want to say it's in Japan. They have social ratings, and that does limit some of the things that you're able to do. I think I'm right. I need to fact check myself on that one after we leave here.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to say that they already have things to where you're not able to eat at restaurant if your score's low, things of that nature.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think something about public transport, and I may be mixing it up with a movie too. Now that I'm thinking about it, but like I said, I'll fact check myself after this one, and we'll talk about it next time too. But that's the type of thing that I see. I think if we continue to move this way, not only is it going to affect people's views of themselves, I think they could make it to where it would restrict the things that you're able to do. So if you're able to influence people to follow you and to like you, you might be on top of the world, but within minutes, if you do one thing to piss everybody off, you could lose everything because you lose your popularity that quickly.
Well, there was also this test too. I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, there was this girl on Instagram and had like millions of followers, and she was trying to get a T-shirt sold on her page, and I think maybe she sold one or two. Like it was just nothing,
Yeah.
With like millions of followers. So followers itself doesn't mean anything. And there's also the fact that I've known people who have bought followers, have literally bought them. You know what I mean? So it's like when you have that sort of illegitimacy about the whole thing, it's like, what does it matter? If people are literally paying money for followers, What do you think, Braden?
No, it is weird. So, thinking about how you kicked off the whole thing, like, I wouldn't consider myself a popular kid from school. I got along with everybody. I guess my big thing was just trying to fly under the radar as best I could. If I had to do something or interact with popular kids, whatever. But still my philosophy now, just fly under the radar. But to your point, like I don't have Snapchat, I don't have Instagram, I don't have Facebook. My wife does. If somebody has a baby or gets married, oh hey, so and so had a baby, got me. What? Okay, cool. She kind of keeps me updated, so I don't give a shit, like. And I kind of got out of it in 2016 during that election cycle. deleted everything just because the toxicity. So I don't really get it either. I think people want fame until they get it. They see dollar signs. They see nice cars, big houses. But I think what we forget is a lot of these celebrities, influencers, while they might not be going to the factory at 7 a.m., they are working constantly creating content, constantly hopping on a jet at 5 a.m., whatever. And I think people think if they get enough followers, they or get popular enough, they can coast by. And to some extent, you can. But, you know, Andy Warhol, the famous quote, everybody's going to have their 15 minutes of fame.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, it's true. You know, the Hawk Tuah girl, kudos to her. She cashed in.
Yeah. She took it to Remnant.
So if you can catch lightning in a bottle, and I know she did some, cryptocurrency.
It's something that failed miserably, yeah.
Yeah, like, and I think it screwed some people out of some money. I don't know the whole story, but
yeah.
Kudos to her. I don't know if she still has her podcast. She may not, but
actually checked it. Actually, ironically, for some reason, because I was talking to my wife about it today, checked it today. Her last podcast was in, I think it was in March or May. March or May. So she
cashed in. Yeah, she cashed in, got out, and good for her. Not everybody can do that. They either crash out before they kind of break through, or they just never break through. And then once they do break through, it's a fucking mess. So,
right.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think people put too much value on it. You know, it's like, oh, you only have 20 followers or 100 followers. You're not worthy of my time. You know, again, you know, I look at things like what we're progressing toward as a society, not just this, but everything, where like you have to have so many things lined up. Whereas back in the day, you could just fall into things, you know? You could fall into a job. You could fall into doing this. People would, you know, give you a chance. They would take a chance on you. These sort of things. And these days, it's like, well, it doesn't look like you're going to be viable because of this, and this, so we're not going to do it. You know, those sort of things can create this sort of environment where, you know, you're just like, what do I do? You know, I'm not there. And again, if you ever hear me say, please like and subscribe to this channel, just kill me, man. Just kill me.
I just said it. I've got evidence. Just me and you from now on, Braden.
way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Oh man.
Let's move on. Limp Bizkit, guys. Limp Bizkit, the old Fred Durst guy. New single, "Making Love to Morgan Wallen." Anybody heard it?
No,
I have not. Wow. Okay.
Okay. Well, it's doing pretty good for him. I think it's got him in the top 10 rock. I think right now in the charts. I listened to it today. Interesting. I wasn't superly a fan of it, but through the whole thing, I'm going, what does this have to do with Morgan Wallen? Until the end, when he says the line, "Making love to Morgan Wallen." But yeah, it's probably a typical Limp Bizkit song. Nothing great, I don't think. You know, it's no like break stuff or anything. But that title intrigued me though, because I'm like, what does this even mean? And I could be wrong, but I think it's just a way to generate interest. You know, to people be like, well, what's this about? You know, it doesn't even seem like that they have beef. Now they might, I don't know, but the song itself, if you look at the lyrics, they don't really seem indicative of anything about Morgan Wallen.
So it's titled to draw attention.
I think so, and maybe well done. So, but Durst is he's been doing some other crazy stuff lately, or over throughout the years since the '90s. He directed a horror movie with John Travolta, and he also was in another horror movie recently, Y2K.
Okay.
So he's been kind of doing some other stuff. That's all I got here, guys. We got anything else, Matt?
Yeah, but I really missed my opportunity to say anything about it when we were talking about all the kind of weird and childish stuff that's going on. The story about the new wall of presidents in the White House, where they have all the presidents' photos.
Yes,
just trying to think about the mindset that you've got to be in if it is true that Joe Biden's is a picture of his of an auto pen signing the name Biden. Like, if that is the case and that's really what's going on, like it's childish. I don't know how else to say it.
It is.
Yeah. It is very immature, for sure. Would I put it past him? Not one bit. Not one bit. I mean, he has this seething hatred for Biden. And, the funny thing is I think if we had let him win that presidency or whatever, if he'd won it, maybe we'd have been through all this, and it might have went off without a hitch. Because it's like I said, his first term was pretty mild, really. I mean, I know that we had a lot of people saying it's going to be bad, but I didn't feel like it was that bad. And then if we let him have it, he wouldn't be on this revenge quest that he is now.
We might not have got the vengeful.
This right, because this term, it's bad. He's bad. Yeah. He is the villain. That one was maybe a little bit exaggerated for sure, the first one, but this one, you never know, man. You never know what's going to happen with these. I thought when we elected Obama back in the day, I thought that was a step toward this sort of equality, this sort of thing that we did, and I did not know, looking at it now, how much it sort of upended all this work that we did. And it's not his fault, but I'm just saying, I think him being in there uprooted a lot of this progress that we made, because I think a lot of people, maybe they had their prejudices hidden, or I don't know what it was, but they definitely came out, and now we have this sort of tension again, which I feel like, and I'm sure it wasn't all the way around, but I feel like we're definitely going toward a much more equal opportunity situation. But I don't know. It's definitely changed the landscape for us. So yeah, I don't know about Trump, man. He's definitely on a quest, and it's not a good one at all. Braden, what else you got? Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was done. I was just agreeing with you.
No, the Autopen thing I chuckled as well. Just so fucking stupid. But at the same time, it is kind of genuinely funny. But it's so fucking stupid. Like, what are we even doing? The one thing I will say about the first term that I feel gets overlooked is he appointed, was it three Supreme Court justices?
You're right. You're right. That actually was true.
Well, we didn't know necessarily at the time that they would be sycophants, but that I think was something that gets, and it's changed things.
Oh yeah, it's
you're right. You're absolutely right. But that was a backdoor one. You're right. That was a sneaky ploy thing. It wasn't like he was out in the open doing all these things, stirring up all this sort of hatred and vitriol for everybody. But you're right. I mean, he was definitely implementing some bad things, but now he's just doing it out in the open. It's like all the gloves are off. If we ever do get him out of the office, I can see the next president going into the White House and seeing every room nothing but Trump pictures everywhere.
Yeah,
It's like, where's everything else? It's all gone. It's all dropped. All right, that's all I got, guys.
Great chat with you guys again.
Sounds good.
Yep. All right. Until next time.
Yeah.
Peace.
Next time. See ya.
Crackling news on the old truck radio, preacher's voice, then a talk show blowing smoke. Neighbors fighting on the Facebook feed, saying more than they ever would in the street. There's small town static in the air tonight, buzzing like a fly on a neon light. I miss the hush of a front porch swing, back when silence still meant something. Can't hear the crickets for the satellite. There's too much noise in this quiet life. Trying to tune it out, but I can't quite shake this small town static.